Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a sleep physician. And if you have insomnia, this channel is for you. Ellen is asking, what personality traits or characteristics people with insomnia typically have in the framework of changing how she's living, thinking, feeling with such a predisposing factor? Hello, hope you're doing really good today. If you're new to the channel, a big welcome to you. We are gonna talk about a question from Ellen, who has been very supportive of the channel, asked a lot of good questions, and has come with so many good suggestions lately. Thanks so much for all your support, Ellen. And now, so let me read actually the question, the little paragraph here, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the 3P model and other things that I think will be helpful, and then actually hone in on the specific questions in this email. So let's jump right into this email that I got. When was that? A few days ago? 4 days ago, from Ellen. What personality traits, characteristics do insomniacs tend to have? It's hard to change our temperament, and I'm not trying to beat myself up about this happening, but would like to understand more and work on developing better strategies for thinking, feeling, living with these predisposing characteristics. I've seen some studies, neuroticism, depression, perfectionism, worry, etc., but almost everyone has some worries. So what is it that makes some people susceptible to insomnia once the precipitating factor comes along, which again, most people will have in their lifetime? I can usually accurately predict who I know / meet is a good sleeper, although I can't quite articulate what it is. I'm seeing or sensing whether they seem more relaxed, less introspective, kind of less mentally engaged. Thank you, Ellen. So again, thanks for this question, Ellen. And I know a lot of you have listened to Talking Insomnia number 10, where I talked to Audra. It's a really, there's a lot to learn from that episode. So I encourage everybody who has not listened to that episode to do so. And particularly, paying attention to how Audra really literally describes the 3P model when she describes how she developed insomnia. And just briefly on the 3P model, the first P stands for predisposing factors, the second precipitating factors, and the third perpetuating factors. Those predisposing factors are, related to personality, as well as having like a extreme sleep preference, being a night owl or early bird. That's a predisposing factor, but also being a person who tends to worry, a person who has this like kind of perfectionism, as Ellen puts it, hard to let go, like likes control. Those are definitely predisposing factors. And a precipitating factor is something that triggers, poor sleep, and that's normal. Like that's to be expected. When we're stressed out, we normally should sleep less because we're kind of in a stressful state. So we should be prepared for anything that may happen when we're stressed out. But the perpetuating factors is the real concern. That's like, some people react to the initial sleepless nights, which are normal. They react to them in a way that keeps insomnia going. So that's the 3P model briefly. Now, having talked a little bit about that, let's go kind of like answer the questions in Ellen's email like one by one. I think that's going to be the best way. So what personality traits or characteristics do insomniacs tend to have? We kind of touched upon that. So again, people that have a tendency to worry a lot, people who have a tendency to like, hard of letting go of control, like really want to control things, and perfectionism, yes. And you mentioned depression also here as one you've heard about, and that one I will say is the one that I don't think that's a typical trait, being kind of like a little bit depressed, sad, like that, with people with insomnia. In fact, oftentimes depression and anxiety go hand in, like people often have both, but if you have like the pure depression, like anhedonia, no interest in doing anything, just very sad, people with kind of like pure depression tend to just sleep a lot, and people who kind of have pure anxiety tend to have insomnia. So they're kind of a little bit yin and yang, those two things. And now let's go on further here. So Ellen said almost everyone has some worry. So what does that make some people susceptible to insomnia once that precipitating factor comes along, which again, most people will have in their lifetime? I think the way I think about it is this, that we all go through times of stress, and during that time of stress, we do all sleep less or sleep poorly. And now for some people, that the anxiety that comes along with the stress that we have is directed towards whatever caused it, let's say, But for some people, somehow the anxiety becomes directed to sleep, the trigger is not what some people become anxious or worried about. It's the loss of sleep. So when that anxiety, the worry is directed towards sleep, that's when insomnia develops. And why do some people have that tendency to direct their worry towards the sleep, the loss of sleep that comes naturally with stress? I don't know, but that's I think that's the closest I can get to answer your question. And now I think there was one more specific question here, or not really, but a couple more points I want to make. And I think these are the what I really want to convey here was the following: like, personality is something that you cannot actually change. You cannot change your personality. So then, why are we talking about this? Well, that in itself is important. Like, if you cannot change something, you shouldn't try. And you say, I don't want to beating myself up about. No, you should definitely know about that. You have to apply an acceptance stance to your personality. You have a personality, you cannot change that. But what is really important is the following, I think. By talking about this and by kind of realizing that, yes, I do have a personality that is like, I tend to worry, or I tend to like be a little bit of a perfectionist. When you accept that as the cause for your insomnia, or the predisposing factor for the insomnia rather, then you may stop looking for other things. It's not your serotonin levels. It's not that you're eating too little avocados. It's not that you have like some hormonal imbalance. Like, when you realize that, yes, I have a little bit of predisposition towards insomnia, and that has ultimately been one of the reasons that I developed it, I think that's an insight that helps you overcome it. And again, I want to point one thing out. Even if you have a predisposition towards insomnia, you have a personality that predisposes you to insomnia, that doesn't mean you're going to have it, forever. And that's super important. Like, tons of people have this predisposition but don't have any insomnia. So, keep that in mind. And I felt that there was this one more thing that I wanted to add. And I can't think of it. So I believe it was not that important. If I come up with that other point I wanted to make, then I will add it somehow. But for now, I think that was it for this one. Thanks, Ellen, for sending me a question again. And if anyone has a comment, question, any thoughts, suggestions, leave a comment or email me, Daniel@insomniainsight.co, and hope to have you back here very soon. Until then, bye-bye.